Let me scoot that over there. Yep, just doing the typical. Everyone knows what this is. So, hey, what's going on? Simone, what's going on? Kit Kat, I like the name. Hey, what's going on? Hey, Miss Ja, how are you? It's been a while. I hope everything is well with you. Hope everything is excellent. What's going on? Let me know how your week is going. I'm just cleaning up some stuff so that I can. Okay, we're good. We're good there, and we should be good here. Let me get my notes up so that when I got my topic up, I am able to pull everything and it can flow seamlessly. All right, good and gooder. Good and gooder. So let's go ahead and put that on here. Oh, funny, 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 funny. All right. So I want to thank you, and I'm going to share this out as well. Let me go ahead and share this out to some people. For those of you that are watching, please definitely share this out. Let people know it is 5. Coach Trev is live. It's a Friday. That's right. Be sure to get everything in there. Make sure that you have put me down on your list. And don't worry, it won't, it won't be something that's going to bore you. Something that you'll be able to use in order to take into your weekend. Boom. So how are you, Miss Ja? If you're still there, okay. Good and good. All right. I'm still sending this out to some people. Boom. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Let's see who else is out here. Okay. That is good. Wonderful. Okay. So I'm just going to check, make sure I was able to send it to. Because the last thing you want to do is, if there's somebody that does need to be here, is miss them because I um, miss them just to just own my own quickness. I definitely want to take my time and make sure that this gets out. Today, we're talking about 5 tips, 5 success tips for you to do to take into your weekend. That's right, 5 success tips to take into your weekend. So get your pens out, get your pencils out, get all those things that you'll need to take some notes, and let's go ahead and get that started. All right. Thank you so much. Make sure I am trying things up. That's one thing that's key is that I learned when I was going here is that I had to make sure every things are charged up. Good. All right. Good and good. So we've got that going. Let me scroll down. All right. Okay, so I want to thank you all so much for coming. I know it's a Friday, so you are making a sacrifice. So it's okay. I want to thank you all so much. Shout out for the Friday. You, you made it through the week. Yes, you did. So at least you're up to this point, and so now you get to get some tips from me so that you can go into this weekend and not be weakened by your weekend. So Um, what have I been up to? Just as I'm preparing, just let you know what's going on. Yesterday evening was the launch of the mastermind. Yes, the online mastermind. And so, if you don't know what that is, it's a community I've created where we talk about some of the things here, but there we go into a deep dive. We get into the hows. It's really active coaching that happens within that form. And so, if you're interested within that, interested about more about the mastermind, just send me a message. I'll get back to you and I'll give you the info. It's anyone that's part of that community. You get access to the recordings. You get access to any worksheets or any things that I've done that I do, any of the notes that I produce during that. So as long as you part of the membership, you'll be good with that. Okay. And so let's move on to this. Did I? Let me snooze that. That was a reminder that just came up. And so let's go ahead and get this going. Let me pull up my notes and let's see. Let's see. Anyone? All right, that's good. Yep. All right, that's good. So we got everything here. So let me just grab my notes and here we go. All right. So, 5 things you should do before your weekend starts. This is what you're going to do, really, because we've got our goals. We made it through the week. High five, kudos. One of the things I've noticed over the years is that people don't literally, when it comes to your weekend, and I remember with me, sometimes your weekend just happens. It just happens. What's your weekend? Oh, it's just happening. Oh, isn't that a beautiful thing? Um, yep, weekend is just happening. It's just going along, moving forward. Like, oh, okay, is that your weekend? Yes, it just happens. So a lot of times we don't intentionally enter into the weekend. Um, what we do is we drift into it. Hey, Hope, thank you so much for stopping in. And so Friday afternoon, when that rolls around, people mentally, they check out, and before they know it, before you know it, Sunday night comes in, and it's time for Monday to hit. And so you look at and sometimes when Sunday night comes, you're wondering, like, dude, where did the weekend go? It came by and it was gone that quick. Exactly. So Monday morning shows up, and then you're trying to play catch up instead of moving ahead. So I've learned that the weekend it can either become your recovery or it becomes your reset. So it can be one of those two. So it could be either 2 days that you waste or 2 days that you prepare for a critical week. So I want to give you 5 things you should do before the weekend starts if you want to build momentum instead of constantly starting over. So we talked about that in our lives. Also, quick note: I've been going live Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now that my mastermind has started, that may pivot to Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, just as that, because I do want to be sure that what I'm doing and what I'm giving out is for those that have taken the time to become part of that. And as I said, if you want to be part of that, just message me and we'll move forward. All right. So let's continue on. Let's start with point number 1. And let me just make sure that I've got everything else up here. All right. Everything's good there. Everything's good here. And we're good here. Okay. All right. Now that I have that information, everybody's up. Okay. So let's start with point number 1. Finish something. Sounds simple, but hey, the one thing to note about this was momentum comes from completion and not just activity. That's right. Comes from completion and not just activity. So for those of you joining, check it out. Tap screen, heart me, share out the live, share this out. Let people know that I am live here and I'll be here at least to cover these 5 points. All right. So one of the things to think about is that you don't leave everything half finished. What you want to do is get on the mindset to complete one important project. What's one thing that you can do? One step, one move forward. What are those steps there? Think about that. What's the one thing you can do? And it could be return a phone call. It could be to send a proposal, finish a chapter, clean up a loose end, something that's meaningful. Because first you to think about is that you want your weekend to have meaning. That's right, it has to have meaning. So you want it to be meaningful versus meaningless. That's an important thing to note. Okay. So you want to have that meaningful thing. So why do we want to operate in completion? Well, there's a few reasons why. Well, completion, what it does is completion reduces mental clutter. See, I was talking with somebody today. They were talking about how they lived in their home for a certain number of years, and they were just surprised at all the clutter that had been gathered there. And um, And one other person I was with, they were saying that, hey, they had actually come here, come to the state with only one suitcase, and now 25 years later, all of this clutter, all of this stuff. So, hey Tracy, thank you for joining. And so it was a challenge. They could like, where did all this paper come from? Where did all these products? Where did all these things come from? And so when you think about it, it's really all the memories and ideas and things. But if it's those it could be tchotchkes, it could be pictures, it could be photographs, it could be any of those things that are. And so, but if it's clutter, really, what that is saying to you is, and I've heard someone say this before, is that clutter represents a decision you have not made. Clutter represents a decision that you have not made. So you want to think about that. If you're complete in something, you reduce that mental clutter, that drain, instead of thinking about it, walking over it, knowing that you've got to make adjustments to be around that. Then that's going to be something that will always be that drain. It doesn't go away until it's completed. So when you complete that, when you get rid of that clutter, you're able to reduce the mental clutter, anything that's up in your brain. Next, what completion also does is it builds confidence. Confidence means that it's as you complete a project, you complete something, you mark something meaningful off the list. It evokes an emotion inside of you that called confidence. You now are building yourself up. Elena, you're now building yourself up so that you're able to move on to the next milestone to complete that. So so that's the thing. You want to finish something. When you complete something, you're building confidence, and that confidence builds momentum. So you're not about focusing on motivation, you're focusing on momentum. Now, what unfinished work, as I said, it drains your energy. See, what our brains like, and let me sit back a little bit. A little bit tired. Don't want to hurt the back because the back is healing. It's the last thing we want to do is that our brains like closure. That's something that they like when things are finished. Every finished task frees up some mental space. So your brain is going to really adhere you to say, okay, this is done. Great, wonderful, excellent. Let's move forward. It puts you in a certain state so that you can move forward in those projects. Now, and when you are operating in completion, when you're operating in that completion, that means that your success is going to grow, and success comes from that completion because you can now mark this off of your list and say, hey, I'm complete. I'm done. I've accomplished this. Done deal. That's an excellent day. Now, what I said earlier is the point number one, which finish something. Notice that I'm emphasizing the word thing. I didn't say things. So you don't want to try to finish everything. Many people can get frustrated and overwhelmed in it because you're trying to build the mountain. You're trying to pick up the mountain, complete it all at once. And that right there is going to get you into a state. So pick something and finish it. Walk it all the way through. Don't end it. Walk it all the way through to the end. All right. So that's what you should do. Now, and when you decide to finish something that matters. That's going to have an impact in, and it's going to actually move the needle. There's going to be certain tasks that don't. But, one task that won't move, it's like, all right, let me clear this. Let me if it's something like, okay, well, let me close this drawer. Let me go change the channel. That's a task. No, you want it to have impact. All right. And what you do is the reason why you finish that, you pick that one thing and you finish it, it's that you end the week with progress and not just busyness. So when it comes to your goals, end it with progress, not just busyness. And when you have those that finish that one thing, that's a victory. And those victories create confidence for the next week. So once it's completed, Celebrate completed work. Build that habit and become a finisher. What does finishing look like? How does it look on you? Make that part of your artillery, part of your repertoire, if you will, that you are a finisher. You're someone that speaks out. And what it does too is not only are you saying this to yourself, but it builds up for anyone else, everyone else that you may be working with. All right? So that's one of the keys that will help you with that. So bear with me. I just dismissed one of my reminders, and I'm going to take that now. And so, if you have any questions, if this is landing for you, put that into the chat. That's right, put that into the chat that this is landing for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to put that in there because I am paying attention to that, making note of that. Be sure as you're coming in to share this out. Know that hey, um, Coach Trep is discussing five successful things to do before the weekend. So this is for your success. This is really for your goals to get you in a mindset of not just busyness, but a mindset where you are actually completing things. So point number one was finish something. Hey, Timur, thank you so much for stopping in. Be sure you finish something. Pick something meaningful. Don't just finish something that you're saying someone else is doing. Pick something that actually moves the needle so that you finish the week with progress. You step into your next week with that confidence. You're not weekend by your weekend. That's one of the key things. Okay. So let's go into once you finish something, it's time to step back and learn from that weekend. So, first thing, finish something. The next thing you want to do, hey, Miss Kelly, thanks for joining. Hey, Boston. Number two, you want to review your week honestly. So, as you're going into your weekend, reflection turns your experience into wisdom. So, don't rush into your weekend. What you want to do is take a moment and pause. Plan your pause. Sometimes there is so much that's coming at you. There's a very few times that we actually enter into a rest period. So you want to think about what steps can you take? What are the moves that you can make? How can you move forward? What are the steps? Ask yourself. Ask yourself some really, really deep questions. Ask yourself, sit down and say, let's go over the week. And you may need to you should put this on your calendar. I talked about this earlier. If it's not on your calendar, then really it's not being completed. If it's not on your calendar, then it's not being completed. And that can be the challenge of it all. All right. So you want to make sure that as you move forward, you are and you're moving into your weekend, you want to review your week. And remember, I said review your week. I didn't just say that. I said review your week honestly. Get real with yourself. Ask yourself those questions. Pause for a minute. Ask yourself what went well. Ask yourself what didn't go well. Now, of course, the first question is like what went well. So that's going to be your highlight reel, basically. Yes, your highlight reel. Excuse me. So yes, ask yourself what went well. Now, in the next one, let's ask yourself what didn't go well. It's okay to say that. What didn't go well? What have been setbacks? What are your places, areas that you may have missed, that may have been astray, that has gone off to other areas? All right. So celebrate your wins. All right. It is okay to do that. It's okay for you to take the time and say, let me celebrate this. Let me move forward into what I'm doing. So celebrate that. Celebrate those wins. Now, when it comes to the challenges, the setbacks, the missed up, those missed options, own your mistakes, own that missing, own that setback, because that's going to really help you to develop ownership and responsibility. So when you own those things, you own those chances, those things that you missed, what are you going to do? Well, excuse me, just missed that. You identify distractions. That's right. Identify this. Was it your phone? Was it another person? Was it an event? Was it where you're staying? Is there a noise that's been there? Are they operating in during your during your key moments when you're doing your deep work. So identify distractions. Next, you want to do is identify your victories. What specifically can you point out? Who did you connect with? What was it that made it a victory? That called it that put you in that mindset that says this is a victory. Next, identify the lessons. And so, yesterday I talked about when you're looking at your day, you want to identify your wins and your lessons. And so that was really a language switch. It's a new vocabulary that you're using. So as you're moving forward, that's that. Okay. So it's identify your lessons. Now, when you're doing this, what you want to do is you want to take a note and start to notice some patterns. Notice how your reactions are when certain things happen because there's a pattern to everything that's out there. It's literally just a matter of stopping for a moment and taking a breath, taking a pause, listening and saying, what gave me, what is it that drained my energy? Ask yourself that. What drains your energy? Ask yourself, what actions did you take that moved your goal forward? And ask yourself, what slowed you down? And nothing is off the board. So when you're saying that's like what gave you energy, what drained energy, do not take the time to make excuses for it. Don't take the time and say, okay, well, this is I was doing this, that's why I had to. No, this is you listing everything, being clear cut with it. This is not providing excuses, not making any habits, any things like that. This is you moving in that fashion. All right. So identify what gave you energy, what drained your energy, how you move what moved you forward and what slowed you down. So when you do that, then what you're doing is you're reflecting, and that reflection as you move forward then causes you to become more aware. You become more aware of your actions. You become more aware of those that come close, those outside factors, whatever that may be. Whether it's something in your office space, something in your eyesight, something you're listening to, you're now developing this heightened sense of awareness. And now this awareness, because you're now aware of what's the drain, you're aware of what's robbing you of that space, you're now saying, okay, I'm going to take action. And that action then causes you to improve your action, improve your methods, improve the way that you think, the way that you move forward. So your reflection creates awareness, and your awareness creates improvement. Right? We all good? Everything landed? Okay. So when you're doing this here, it's not about, as I said before, it's not about judging yourself and saying, well, maybe I should have stopped, because that's when you begin to really condemn yourself. And that's not the, it's not about self condemnation. It's about learning from yourself and knowing that every week is going to teach you something. You have to find the lesson in that week. That's important. Find the lesson in that week. Okay. All right. So we all good? Everybody. All right. Let me see if there's any things in the chat. All right. Looking good. Okay. I deliberately paused just in case somebody was thinking about something. Maybe you might have been typing something, and you needed a breath. Whatever. So now now that you've number one, you decided to finish something, and two, you reviewed your week honestly. Well, what's the third thing you should do? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Uh, number three, celebrate your progress. So don't become too focused on your next goal that you forget your last victory. So what happens is a lot when you're thinking and reviewing about this, a lot of times you're looking at the finish line, you're looking at that completion. And so in order to get to that completion, you have to realize that the result of that completion is the sum of the victories prior to that. So now you have to sit and say, okay, what were the accomplishments that brought you to that point? What was the things there? And so if you were just thinking about the finish line. And once you get to that finish line, what comes next? It's going to exhaust you. It's going to really put you in that state of draining you mentally. So you've got to think about, okay, where's the progress? When did I do this? What were the triggers? What was the impact? How much did it move the needle? And so when you're doing that, you're realizing that progress, it deserves its own recognition. So you're taking that time, recognizing the progress, and realizing that all those victories, all those accomplishments, they all matter. So when you're doing those routines that you've developed, that you've honed in, that's moving forward, hey, you're realizing that those small wins matter. And with those small wins, there's the growth that happens. So you're now recognizing your growth, and that growth matters as well. In your time of recognition, you're now seeing that there were areas you were consistent. So consistency does matter. So what are some things you can celebrate at? One, celebrate for just showing. That's the first part. Celebrate for just being there, just being there to do the work, to take the action, to take the move forward. Then you celebrate the learning. Celebrate the times when you were taking courses that you actually, applied what you've learned. Celebrate those improvements. The times when you sat, reflected, you became aware of an issue and you improved it. Hey, Chairman, right? And you improved it. So you're celebrating that. Now, next, you want to also think about celebrating discipline. That's right, because it takes discipline for you to accomplish something. That's going to be key. It's that discipline that's going to move you forward into the next. Okay, and you can also, and that discipline then helps you build the courage to move forward. So you celebrate your discipline, you celebrate your courage, you celebrate even times when you don't do it. You celebrate those even the setbacks because those setbacks would be times that you fall, but the only way you can fall is if you're already standing. So celebrate the progress. That celebration creates gratitude. And gratitude, it builds confidence, it builds resilience, it helps you create perspective on the actions that you're taking, the moves that you're making. So don't wait for huge milestones. Learn to celebrate the small victories because they eventually become big victories. Now that you celebrated this past week, it's time to prepare for the next one. So that's how we're good. All right. I'm gonna take a minute, take a breath. Okay. Hey Chuck, thank you so much for stopping in. So now, our next step here. What do I do with my notes? There we go. So the next point that you want to do, 5 weekend success tip, is that you want to prepare for next week. That's right. Monday is easier when Friday prepares for it. That's something I learned. Monday becomes easier when Friday prepares for it. So take the time and review your calendar and say, what do you have coming up next? What's coming up for the next weeks? And so you'll see, you may have a discussion, you may have a talk, you may have a meeting, maybe a training, maybe a course, something you familiarize yourself with. So now, what you're doing is you're familiarizing yourself with your appointments. You're now, you know your appointments. You're now learning and coordinating with your priorities. What's first? What's key? What's going to move you into that space? Okay. So now you're knowing your priorities. As you're going through your calendar, what you can do is you can choose your biggest goal. So you're choosing that, you're saying, okay, these are the things that need to be accomplished. How do I move forward in that? And so now, as you're choosing your goals, what you do is you say, okay, this needs the most energy. So now you start to schedule all your important work, the work that's really going to move the needle, going to get you back into that space where you are where you're actually moving and having an impact. So You prepare for your next week by looking at your calendar, you schedule your important work, and you're also setting up ways to protect your focus time. So, really, what I mean by set your focus time is that your plan for distractions before they arrive. That's right. You can know that there is some distraction that's coming up just by looking at your calendar. You know, it's predict- it can there's some that may not be predictable, but you plan for your distractions then, as well as plan for distractions. You begin to organize your workspace. You're saying, okay, this no longer needs to here. Why is this taking up real estate on your desk when it no longer contributes to your progress? That's what you should do. Take the time when time, sit back and say, okay, let me go through every single thing on my desk, every single thing in my workspace, and ask myself, what contributes? Ask myself, um, what is this doing that it has earned this precious real estate? Yes. If you're working, you have a desk space. That desk, that's one of the most precious real estate that you can have in prime real estate. So you got to question every single thing on your desk and say, if it's not contributing, if you're not doing anything with it, then it's got to go. See it. If it was a one time, a two-time thing, but this you've got to ask it, what are your long-term goals? This is you picking up and going, okay, this pen, okay, um, these post-its, does this have a long-term goal? Well, if I do everything on my computer, post-its, things like that. Little pick it up in your hand and ask yourself, and asking a question. Say, what is your why are you here? What's your long-term goal? How do you contribute? I'm telling you, when you start to question things, you then begin to see really this doesn't have it, and it no longer deserves that space. It no longer should be within your eye line. You've got to protect your focus space. Protect that. Now, when you do that, you then are take the time and decide what success looks like. Decide. Yes, I know it's something unique. Yes, what you decide what success looks like because when you think about people will say use the word success, but know that it's different for different people. And so you want to ask yourself, what does it look like doing? How are you moving? Who's around you? What are you wearing? What does success look like to you? Now, as you're moving and as you're preparing for next week, you can then go down your list, go down your calendar, and say, okay, what's some of the unnecessary decisions that I can if it's dressing, it's just sometimes it's dressing what to wear. Lay out your clothes, done deal. You know what you're wearing, keep it moving. So you want to do that. The idea is really to reduce as much stress as possible. Get rid of as much decision fatigue as you can. That's really it. Because what happens is as you prepare, you're now checking these things off, and that creates confidence. That preparation creates the confidence. It helps you to build your focus, and it creates momentum. So you're building momentum because you're now planning and deciding what are the next steps that you can do. That's what you're doing. Okay. Sound good, Landon? As I said, if this is your first time, Coach Trev, the accountability coach, the foot in your backside, making sure you don't backslide. I go live for right now at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time throughout the week. I'm pivoting to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So just as an FYI, because there's a lot that goes on Sunday. So I've got to be mindful. Hey, Sunshine, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. Thank you. For the repost. Am I getting a heartbeat too? Good, good. Thank you. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a bit. How's your week going? Gives me a chance to get some water. Thank you. Thank you. Got any coins for a heartbeat? But I hope you're doing well, doing excellent. Thank you for stopping. Thank you for stopping in. And so I'm talking about the 5 weekend success tips and what, right now we're focusing more on number 4, which is preparing for the next week. And so as you're preparing for the next week, you wanna know the importance of that. It's building confidence, it's creating focus, it's building momentum, and you have and then you understand that when you have a successful week, you can look back at a week and say this was successful. You'll the one thing that stands out is that it did not happen by accident. It was planned. It was coordinated. I mean, they rarely do. If something happens, it's a rare thing. Most successful weeks happen through preparation. You know, you know what you do on Friday, that 5 minutes of preparation, that can save you hours on a Monday. It helps you to start Monday with clarity. So what you can do really is give your future self a head start, right? So, and finally, and so now we're moving to the last thing, the fifth success tip, the fifth thing you can do for your success. And so, what's that going to be? Make time to recharge on purpose. So, the bottom line is to really embrace this that when you take a rest, it isn't quitting. Rest is really preparation. So you've got to think of you taking a rest, you taking a break, and some people call it seven. You taking a break as a purpose because your mind has been thinking and processing throughout the week. And so it does need time to recover. Your body needs to recover as well from all the things that you do. Regardless, if you may say, "Well, I sit at a desk and I do this, I do that," it's just I'm here, I'm pretty stationary. Your mind, if your mind's tired, then that says, "Hey, we're tired, body tired too." Sends out the message. And trust me, that is faster than the internet speed that you can imagine. That connectivity is real. So be sure that your body needs recovery, your emotions need recovery. All that it needs that time. So you want to be sure that you recharge with intention. So how do you do that? Well, you can spend time with family. You can read something encouraging. Um, you can exercise. You can reflect. You can laugh. You can pray. You can, take time to enjoy life. Go to a movie. Go to see. Go to a museum. Um, hang out with some friends. Hey, here's something that you can that some people do and some people don't do is that you may have lived in a certain town, a certain area for last 3, 5, 10 years. Have you ever done a tour of it? Like, there's certain buses and certain trolleys that go around, and you see tourists on those. You should try that. I remember one time that my wife's parents, they were visiting, and so we said, "Well, what can I do?" And so we said, "Let's do one of those trolley tours." And so we're like, "Okay, they may enjoy that." So we said, and I'll tell you, when I thought about it, I was like, "All right, well, we're going with them, so we're gonna have a good time." And I didn't think I was gonna learn anything. I'm just there to just enjoy the time, enjoy the space with them, laugh, joke, etc. I tell you, I was very surprised at how much I learned about a city that I've lived in the bulk of my life. And so it was really a different move. So that's something fun that you could do is you could look into say, let me do one of those bus tours I see or that's in traffic or whatever I always see going here and there. Because it's something different. You may learn something. When's the last time you went to your local library? See what's going on there. Went to the community center, saw what was going on. So it's good to really recharge intentionally to unplug and disconnect when needed. It doesn't mean that you're wasting time. It means that you're really preparing for what's next. So it's better for you to recharge intentionally versus an illness or an injury causing you to lay down yourself. That's what's important. So you don't want to be burned out. That's one of the last things you can do. So what recovery does is recovery protects your consistency. And so as you're recovering, it helps you to build your energy. And that energy is going to fuel your performance. So what you can basically tell yourself is that a rested me makes better decisions. That's what you want to do. You really want to focus on that to have that understanding. All right. Now, I told you that I give you 5 weekend success tips. So because it's Friday, and you may have had a hard week, and you're looking to say, let's close this out. So those were the 5 tips, and let me just review those out there. So point number one was finish something. Pick one thing of importance, one thing that has an impact, and finish it. So operate in completion. All right. So that was point number one. Point number two, review your week honestly. Pause for a few moments. Ask yourself what went well, what didn't, and celebrate your wins and own your setbacks. That way you can learn from that. You can experience that. That's the application of it. Identify your victories and things and identify those lessons. So that was number two. Number three, celebrate your progress. Meaning that get all those things. Take a time to take your eyes off of the finish line, begin to look at all of the wins that brought you up to this point, all of the accomplishments, all of those movements. Those are things that you want to celebrate. You really want to be sure that you are recognizing progress. All right. So celebrate your progress. Number four, prepare for your next week. Review your calendar. You're then eager to know your appointments, you know your priorities, you organize your workspace, and what it does is you plan for distractions and you realize that the few minutes that you did this on a Friday helped you walk into Monday with clear preparation. Okay. And number five was make time to recharge on purpose, knowing that rest has a purpose, that your mind needs to recover, your body needs to recover. If it does not, then that's where you suffer. So you want to recharge with intention. All right. And you can recharge through a number of things. You just want to be sure that you disconnect. All right. So I told you that I have 5 things, but you know what? For those that are here, it's a Friday. I got 3 more things. Um, just these are 3 bonus habits that can completely change your week. All right. So everybody's here. I'll make sure we're good, not missing anything. And I got the notes up. All right. Okay. So here we go. Bonus section now. So these are bonuses for you to take with you as you're going into your weekend. Okay. All right. So now let's step into this. Everybody ready for the bonus? Good. All right. So bonus number one, clean up one area of your life. One area. Your desk, check your inbox, your calendar, um, you clean pick one place. All right. This could be organizing your workspace. This could be organizing your box. This could be clearing your notifications. You know, because what happened is that physical order often helps you create mental clarity. Yes. So clean up, pick one area and clean it. 'Cause what clear space often creates clear thinking. All right. So that's bonus number one. Bonus number two, encourage someone else. Send a text to somebody, make a phone call, pick somebody that maybe you haven't been in touch with. Thanks them. Celebrate someone's wins. Invest in another person. Pour into them. That that encouragement, it costs a little. It doesn't cost you much, but it can change someone's entire weekend. So it isn't about what you accomplish. It's also about who you lift up. So that's number two. And number three, recommit to your goals. Don't wait until January. Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait until next month. Review your goals. Adjust them if necessary. So what you want to do is take the time to recommit to the process. Think about it. Take a moment and say, why did I start this? What was my purpose? How am I moving forward? Is this making impact? Make one decision that you're proud of, and start fresh right after this. Right after this live, start fresh. Because momentum really begins with one decision. So every day you get another opportunity to commit. So let me leave you with this final thought. Thank you so much for staying around. Is that knowing these habits won't change your life. Knowing all 8 of these, they're not life changing. You can recite them, you can give them out. However, if you practice them, that's the life changing process. That's one of the reasons why I launched my weekly mastermind. Every Thursday, we're taking conversations like this and going much deeper. We're not talking about success, we're building it. We're creating systems, we're building accountability, we are helping each other execute. It's a private pay community um, that meets weekly. And so if you can't make the sessions live, you'll have access to the recording. If I use any worksheets or templates or things along those lines or resources, you'll receive that as part of your membership. And so, if you're interested, definitely reach out because the goal isn't to fill your notebook with ideas; it's to fill your life with consistent actions and wins. So, if you're ready for that kind of accountability, message me after this, and we'll do a free session. I'll give you some more information about it. All right. So, and I'd love to see if this is the right fit for you. Now that we come to the conclusion, know this that your weekend has more power than you think. Don't drift into it. Find something. Reflect honestly. Celebrate your progress. Prepare for next week. Be sure to recharge intentionally. That's what counts. Recharge intentionally. Then, once you do those things, clean up one area of your life. Take the time, go through your contacts, and encourage someone else. And then recommit to your goals. Now, if you do these things consistently, you won't just have better weekends, you build better weeks, better months, and ultimately, you build better weeks and better months. It's a better life all around. 'Cause at the end of it all, realize that success isn't built in one great day. It's built by ordinary days with extraordinary intention, actual work. So So I'm encourage you with this. Don't let your weekend be an escape from your goals. Let it become your launch pad for what's next. Okay? All right. So I want to thank you all so much. Be sure you're following my page, turn on your notifications so that you know when I go live. And I'm going to think about this as well. Like I said, I started my mastermind. I've gone live Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've done that. I may be pivoting that. I may be switching out to going live 3 days a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll see. We'll see. I might play with that because with the mastermind I have on the weekend on Thursdays, um, I may need to keep my Friday. So we'll see. I might play with that. It might be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see. At least 3 days during the week. Okay. And so I want to thank you all so much. As I said, if you want more contact with me, be sure you're following me for when I post stories and post and videos and things and reels. There will be an increase. Never know when the increase will come, but it is coming. All right. So thank you all so much. And message me if you have any questions.